I'm delighted to have Patrick Reymond here beside me from Switzerland, who is 33.333 recurring % of Atelier Oï.
Yes.
Patrick works with Aurel and with Armand, who make up this wonderful, I think you describe yourself as transdisciplinary office based out of the French-speaking part of Switzerland. And I was lucky enough to come to your studio, to your office a couple of months ago. It's called the Motel. It's an old motel. It's called Motel. They're called Atelier Oï. Do you see what they did there? Very super. By the way, I've been pronouncing your company name incorrectly for years because it has an umlaut on it. I was always calling it Atelier Oï.
Oï.
Thank you. All right, calm down.
Yes.
No need to get aggressive about it.
No, it's from Troika.
It's from Troika.
Yes.
Right. This I now.
The tree.
I understand. But I went to this 1950s. Originally, it was built in 1950s motel just outside La Villeneuve.
La Neuveville.
La Neuveville, sorry.
Yes.
On the Lake Bienne, and it's amazing space. But funnily enough, when I was going I got the train there. When I got out the station and I entered your address in Google Maps, it didn't take me down the main road. It took me hilariously through a little housing estate. I had to climb over 2 small fences. I had to cross a children's playground as well. It was like the journey was a creative journey to get to you. I thought that was quite a fitting kind of metaphor. But
I think it's for us a quite inspiring place. It's always nature around us. So, and this is probably this nature around us had a great impact on our work. It's really a small place. It's 4,000 inhabitants.
Right, and it's actually at this. If you know Switzerland, it's on the linguistic border between the German-speaking part and the French-speaking part. It's a kind of crossroads, which is sort of what you guys are as well.
In between, yes.
You're in-betweeners.
It's the Röstigraben.
Sorry, yeah, the Röstigraben, as they call it in German.
Yes.
And it's fantastic to have you here. Let's maybe, by the way, thanks very much for the book he just gave me, which is published by Lars Müller. And the best bit is the picture of the guys on the back from 1989. You look like what your son might look like.
I don't know.
Fresh face. You've been around for a long time, I think it's fair to say, over 30 years. What do you mean by transdisciplinary? I mean, does it not just mean multidisciplinary? Or is there a difference?
Transdisciplinary means that we are always moving from a scale and a field to another. So we are never specialists. We are always exploring. And from a field, we can see another scale. We can explore another material. So it's really something which is always moving. And of course, from the beginning, we are a trio, and now we are around 40 people in our studio, and it's a collective work. So, and we learn to work together. We learn to listen to the other, to often to say nothing. If the people are good to say something, it's like in music. You need to give the chance to the beautiful moment, and often to do design is to do nothing. It's just to say, okay, let's push this. It's good. I don't need to add something. We find a way to do, and this could come from different point of view and vision, and it's interesting to share a project with different people coming from graphic design, interior design, scenography, architecture, engineering, landscape design, art. So this mix is interesting, and it's why also for us traveling is interesting. When you travel, you have the chance to see maybe your place from another place. I'm quite often in Japan, and often when I am in Japan, I'm thinking to Switzerland, and I rediscover things. So I think transdisciplinarity is a kind of regard croisé, a cross vision that we share every day in our studio.
And also between the three of you as well.
Yes, of course. It's like a jazz band a little bit. I'm playing also a little bit music, and I'm doing quite.
That's very modest of him. He's a fantastic guitar player and jazz musician.
Yes, but typically in jazz music, you need to play for an audience, and you want to do the best, and you interact with the people, but you interact between the three musicians. So every musician are playing another instrument. It is the way we are also in the studio, the three together. So you need to understand what the other is doing, and after you need to stop to play. And this is something in our process that we learn to work together. And there is some pictures of, for example, Memphis. We were admiring those team, or Ushida Shigeru, who was our Japanese maestro. And maybe here, this is the drawings of the team. So it's all connected. There is no one-man show at the end. It's what we wanted to do already 30 years ago when we started, and now it's still the same after 30 years. It's not a one-man show. It's really a collective work.
But how does that? Over time, do you then have to learn how to manage your own ego? Do you have to learn how to manage the egos of your two partners? How does this work? What are the arguments like? Tell us. No one will say a word.
No. I think we are the three different, and I think differences create energy, and we are three. So after, it's not a receipt. It's just a chance to meet us. I was studying with Aurel already in Lausanne, and I knew Armand from La Neuveville. And we started to interact together, and we loved that we have different point of view. And when you are three, it's always one who is doing the balance. So there is never something who will block a process. It's always we find always a way. And this is special. And this is typically the Troika, this old Russian car with the three horses. They are interacting, the three together, in different ways. So when one is a little bit tired, there's another one who is leading. This is the way we are working, and now this is the way we are working with all the team.
I mean, on your website it says that you the founders, are deeply involved with architecture design, and this is the bit that made me smile and raise an eyebrow. Architecture design and naval construction.
Yes.
That is not something you read on most architects or designers' websites.
No, this is...
where do ships and boats come into this then?
No, this is Armand, one of the three. He studied architecture, boat construction. And when we started in 1991, 89 already, he already started a studio using the boat construction technique with the plywood, but to develop furnitures. And at this time we met us, we were still studying with Aurel in Lausanne, and Armand said, maybe we need to try something together. So from the beginning we started with materials and process of construction, and this is the beginning, and it's still always the same. So first we start with the materials. We want to feel the materials. It's like to cook. We are a little bit like cooker. We want to taste, we want to feel the materials. We don't know what we will do, but we want to understand. And often when you play with materials, you will find by the physics of the materials, you will find a shape.
Form follows material.
Or form follow emotion. It's like a cooker. You feel something when you see a form, and if you don't feel this or you don't see this by manipulating materials, it's difficult after to follow how you will find this form. So often we don't use the pencil. We are just archiving all those experimentation, and it's after about a context, a situation, about a story. So we call that, we mix between the play of materials and to define a story for a project, a specific story. We call that storytecture. It's a little bit
Storytecture.
it's a little bit a strange name, but it's typically we try to create a story and to transform the materials on object through a story. And this, of course, is based on all what we experimented with the materials. So we keep our archive of tests, like a cooker who is just keeping what he tried, and depending of the story, we'll come back. So we are using a kind of living archive. So all what we experiment, we can find after a way to bring in a project.
And how do you encounter new materials? Who does the research? What does this look like?
We collect from a long time. Well, now, I don't know, 25,000 different materials. We have a warehouse. It's for us like our fresh marketplace. And of course, we are connected now with many companies, and we are always bringing materials. Of course, being quite often in Japan, I bring a lot of discoveries, or just objects that you will find even in an antique market. To see, this is a beautiful crystal glass, how it's cut. We will put in our material library.
You told me earlier you've been to Japan about what, like 50, 60 times?
Mm-hmm, yes.
I see a connection in formal terms with Japan, particularly when we think about the recurring constructional device that you guys often use, which is the fold.
Mm-hmm.
See that a lot in your work. And is that a direct reference from Japan? I mean, origami.
Maybe the connection with Japan. Of course, we love Japan, and I think all the designers who have the chance to visit Japan, they will never come back. I think it's a so beautiful place, collected with nature, with all the know-how. And we are proceeding with the materials, we are proceeding with the artisan, and this is what we are doing in Switzerland, but it's the same in Japan. So I think we are like at home when we are in Japan, and probably when you try to be efficient with the use of the materials, when you try to follow the truth of the materials, maybe you can do things maybe similar, being in Switzerland, like some other designer or architect or craftsman who are doing in Japan. For example, we did some work, and a good friend of me in Japan is Koichi Suzuno. Is one of the two of the Torafu architects who are quite famous architects and designers. And we came in the same forms, in the same principi, in the same times.
Right.
So
totally independent of each other.
Independent, but of course, Ushida Shigeru, who was our maestro, of course, Japan influenced us, but I think more by this closeness of respect of the materials and this closeness with nature.
Oh, there you are.
Ah, yes, this is a little bit
Which
old pictures.
Is there a particular material that you would never work with, that you say, no, verboten, no thank you?
I think if you work with materials, you will understand first from where the material is coming and how which effort you need to do to transform. So this is something that if we see that this is a little bit really a mistake, or we feel that it is not good, we will not work, but it's difficult to just to define which materials. Now I think I teach quite long time in ECAL during 15 years, and I just came back last year to visit the diploma work, and I was happy to see that many young designers, almost all the next generation of designers, are starting by developing materials. developing process of production before to design something.
Right.
Before we were creating shapes, forms, but now I think it's good for the next generation and for all the challenge that we have to come back to the essence. So we try to do our best. When we started 30 years ago, we are probably not perfect, but if you are close to the materials, it's really like cooking. You understand if it's good or not, so you are aware. You are maybe not perfect, but you are aware.
Patrick, you've collaborated with a lot of, aside from your architectural projects, you've collaborated with a lot of brands, and you've collaborated with a significant number of furniture brands, but also with luxury brands. This seems to be a significant part of your studio's output. What's the difference there in terms of process, or in terms of your experience? Actually, do luxury brands, for example, Bulgari, Louis Vuitton, are they much more demanding? Do they have a tighter control on the process, or is it the opposite? Are they carte blanche? We trust in your creativity.
So I think typically Louis Vuitton is a carte blanche, but we started really at the beginning. We were almost.
And what have you done with for Louis Vuitton? Maybe you tell the audience.
For Louis Vuitton, we did quite a lot of projects, almost maybe 12 different pieces. But this we started 10 years ago, and of course it's an interesting story. And for us, coming from La Neuveville to be invited by Louis Vuitton, it was first this image of this big company, luxus company, and we were invited in Agnières. Agnières is the family house, and in the family somebody was waiting, and it was an old lady who started. We were really in the family house where all started, and she explained it was all the photos of the Louis Vuitton family. So we came back to the family business of Louis Vuitton, really the essence, and we met the craftsmen. So for us, I think to have this connection with craftsmen is quite really probably most important for us to develop project. And typically it's a luxus company, but it's directly connected to craftsmen. And this is, for us, it's the same when we did some project for Venini in Murano. We want to be connected to craftsmen. It's maybe more difficult for us to work with a company without any know-how, just with a marketing concept.
Right.
So we want to be close to craftsmen, to understand the production.
I mean, you have this great expression, which I think came from you or one of the guys, which is you think with your hands.
Yes.
So
often we do wrong, but we try to think.
Hopefully with your brain as well, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. But yes, we think with our hands, and of course, when you have the chance to meet craftsmen, you learn from them. But often is interesting, and this is what we love with this kind of company like Louis Vuitton, but also with Wonderglass, when you can also challenge the craftsman. And of course, difficult to say to a craftsman with, 20 years of experience to say, do in another way. But at the end, we understand him, and after he understand us, and this creates new things. And this is what we love by doing our work. So I think even for Luxus company, this is what we are looking for, is this process and this connection with the craftsmen and the skills. And to learn, I think the most important thing is always to learn. Every day is a new discovery. This is important.
And Patrick, you studied music.
Yes.
Before you actually studied architecture and design. I mean, how does one inform the other for you in your work? How does your being a musician and being an active musician, you play a lot. How does that inform your work as a designer, do you think? Or does it?
Yes, I think, but to listen to the others, if you play with a trio, you need to listen what the other is playing. You need to feel the atmosphere, and you need to interact with the public. And after you have the improvisation, so you can produce you can create on time something will be unique just at this moment. And I think this process, Aurel was playing trumpet also, and Armand guitar too. So the three, we are musicians. So I think we know a little bit this process and this respect that you can have between musicians, between different instruments, and this influences quite a lot of our work. And also the team. We started as a trio, and now it's a little bit a big band, but still it's same. It's always the same. Yeah, so music quite influences a lot our process on work.
I mean, you have when I was there, I noticed there were a lot of young people working with you, which is fantastic, and I'm sure you learn from them as well. It's not a top-down process by any means. What would your advice be to young graduates these days coming out with good design degrees? I mean, is it harder for them now, do you think, or you know? What advice would you give?
To be curious and to be generous also.
How do you mean generous?
Generous to show your things. When we started in 1991, it was we are. You see the Moitel in La Neuveville. La Neuveville is in the center of Switzerland, but it's in the middle of nowhere. It's not the place of design. It's just a small village. So for us, it was no clients, nothing. So we started to design furniture, and we started to produce ourselves, and we went in some shops, to present our work. So we did a lot of exhibition. We were showing our realization, our project, and it's this what I mean a little bit generous. You need to show things. Maybe somebody will take your idea, but it's not a problem. So, and you have this energy, you need to believe that you can do things, even you are in La Neuveville, that maybe you will do something after in Japan. So I think all is possible, but you need to be curious and to have the passion. So you need to be passionate, and you need to be curious in order to try to find new things every day. And this is how we are proceeding in our studio.
Well, I hope you guys are a bit curious to ask this gentleman a question directly. It'd be super to hear your thoughts. Is there something about their work that has piqued your interest, or any comments on what Patrick has said? Don't be shy. In any language.
Yes,
he speaks French, German, English, some Japanese, and a smattering of Klingon as well, I heard. He's a Star Trek fan. No, that last bit's a lie. That's not true.
Habla un poquito español.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I was wondering, you says you have 3 owners of Oï, but you have the 40 people, so you have many projects parallel. Do you have project owners, 3 of you, for all of these projects, or do you split it, or how do you work? How do you have this process in your studio?
No, we are sharing the project, the 3 together, but of course it's a team now, and so we are always involving a project leader who will take care to develop the project. So it's a process between the 3 of us, and after project leader or a team dedicated to this project. And this is also important we are already the old generation. So we need also, it must be also a way to push like more the next if they want to continue, but the next generation. So I think no, it's true that it's work the three together with always a team who is dedicated to the project. And after we have critics of the project. But of course, we have some, for example, some project. For example, all the Japanese project, it's more me who are following and going to Japan, and maybe for some Italian brands, also Armand is more taking care after to be present in Italy, speaking Italian. So after it's more how we can maybe follow and to travel, that we share a little bit. But mainly for the concept, we are the three together with the team.
Thanks for the question. Anyone else? Speak now or forever remain silent. Well, listen, thanks for coming along. It's been great to have you here. Thanks very much, Patrick
Thank
from
you.
Atelier
Merci.
Oï. Sorry, I pronounced it incorrectly. Oï.
Oï.